So I'm going to do whiskey old fashioned. So I'm just going to start with 2 ounces of whiskey. 1 ounce. 2. So now I'm going to take a taste of the whiskey. It smells pretty good. It tastes pretty good. You know, there's a little bit of an alcohol burn here. I drink neat spirits fairly frequently. That doesn't bother me, but not everybody's into that alcohol burn. But it's also important to remember when thinking about cocktails that cocktails came to prominence at a time when there were a lot of poorly made spirits in the market. A lot less of the science of distillation was understood. There was a lot more adulteration. A lot of distilleries were not using best practices. So in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there were just a lot more crappy spirits on the market. And part of the reason cocktails came to prominence was to mask those flaws. So on the one hand, this is a totally sippable spirit, but it's maybe a little rough, especially for the uninitiated neat spirits drinker. And what we're going to do is add several more layers to make it more enticing. So next up, I'm going to add some simple syrup. Now, sweetness is the easiest way to both mask any flaws and create a more engaging, enticing drink. So I've just dissolved equal parts sugar and water, and what that creates is a pourable, more easily measurable ingredient compared to just raw white sugar. And that lets everything dissolve very quickly. So I'm going to add 1/4 ounce of simple syrup to my 2 ounces of whiskey. If I now take another taste, swirl that around a little bit, get that all mixed up. On the one hand, it's more engaging, it's more enticing, but it's almost too smooth. You know, it's almost just like drinking sugar water now. It's not bad. Like, the sweetness is nice, but there's not any tension there. There's not any drama. It's just kind of like, it's almost like the children's song version of a cocktail. It's all nice parts and no interesting parts. So next up, I'm going to add some bitters. Now, bitters, or a bitter taste, often indicates the presence of poison. Now, these bitters are not going to poison us. We're going to use them in a small amount where they're not going to do any harm to us, but they still trigger our taste buds to say, okay, on the one hand, this bitterness wants us to push this drink away. The sweetness wants us to draw that drink in. That tension between the two is what's going to create an intriguing cocktail. So I'm going to do 1 eyedropper, or about 1 milliliter of some house-made bitters, can create an interesting flavor effect. So I'm going to add about 1 milliliter, about a full eyedropper worth of bitters. And this is the bitters that I make in-house. It's based around coriander, cardamom, and nutmeg. And then it also has several radiant ingredients in it. And radiant ingredients are known in perfumery, and they act for scent similar to the way that salt acts for taste. So if you put a little bit of salt into your chili, you're not trying to taste the salt. You're trying to taste everything else that's going on in there, from the onions, the garlic, the meat, the beans. And that salt enhances the way you perceive everything else, even though you don't taste the salt in chili. Radiant ingredients boost your perception of all of the aromatic components. So whatever spices, whatever herbs, whatever notes are in the whiskey, those are all enhanced by radiant ingredients, things like orris root, angelica root. Even though we don't taste those roots necessarily, they're enhancing the way we perceive everything else. So now, not only have we boosted the aroma, we've also created that dynamic tension in the taste. So now we've got sweetened and bittered whiskey. Okay, now that is intriguing. That is pretty enjoyable. I would drink that. However, I can still tell that there's a little bit of burn from the alcohol. There's a little bit of benefit that I would still get from chilling that drink down and adding some dilution, which is, of course, why an old-fashioned is normally stirred with ice. So what I'm going to do is add an ice cube. And I'm going to stir that for about 15 seconds until it comes down to about 40 Fahrenheit. And that is sort of the upper end of the perfect service temperature for an old-fashioned. Now, as that ice is melting, it's chilling the drink, but of course that melted ice is turning into water, which is adding dilution to the drink. And both of those are going to be bringing all of the levels of the bitterness, the sweetness, the aroma to the proper level where they're going to be ideal in the cocktail. So now I've got a chilled and diluted old-fashioned. And that is delicious. On the one hand, we could pause here, but there are some aromatic accompaniments that are traditional with an old-fashioned that do add a lot to the drink. So traditionally, a citrus peel is expressed over the top of the drink. I'm going to use lemon today. And with lemon, or with any citrus, the essential oils live in the peel. So one way to talk about these oils and to sort of demonstrate this is that as I squeeze this peel, I'm going to be shooting oils out of that peel. Those oils are flammable, so if I express them through a flame, they are going to light on fire and create sort of a toasted or roasted lemon oil effect in the drink. So now I've misted these aromatic oils over the drink. Maybe more traditionally, the way that would be done would be to just cut a swath of lemon peel. And then holding that lemon side down or yellow side down, I'm going to squeeze the peel and those oils are going to fly out of the peel over the drink. Some of them are going to stick to the peel, so I can take that peel, rub it around the lip of the drink, and now I've got lemon oil coating the edge of that glass. I'm going to go ahead and drop this into the drink. It's going to add a little more bitterness to the drink, but I like bitterness. I'm totally fine with that. And I'm going to take another sip. Now, everywhere that I rubbed those lemon oils, and they're all over my hand too, that the rim of that glass is right next to my nose. So now I get this aromatic boost, not only from the oils on top of the drink, but everything around the lip. That is very lovely. And traditionally, that would be a completed old-fashioned. I'm going to do one more step. And I'm going to couple that to a fragrance. So I own a scented cocktail bar. Each drink served at my bar, Castalia, is paired with a fragrance, and I'm going to use Bourbon Old Books. So this scent was created to pair with a barrel-aged whiskey. A lot of the notes in here were chosen to mirror the notes that arise when wood breaks down. So as whiskey sits in a barrel, that wood is decomposing, it's breaking up into aromatic molecules, and they are going into the whiskey and flavoring the whiskey. Those same molecules are also found in a variety of other botanicals, so I use those other botanicals, created the scent to match the notes of a bourbon, and that's also a similar process that happens to old books. So paper is made from wood. As those books sit on the shelf, the wood molecules or those paper molecules are decomposing, creating various flavors. So when you riffle the pages of an old book, you're essentially getting bourbon aroma. And if you read books as a child, you were essentially priming yourself to enjoy bourbon as an adult. So what I'm now going to do is smell the scent at the same time I'm drinking the drink. Yep, those two definitely harmonize, and that is a lovely flavor.